I've known this man for a whole 2 minutes and all I want to do is rip out his hair. He is such a money-loving gremlin and I love him for it.
He was literally tracing
the other guy's teeth with his tongue and it had me cringing so hard. What is happening? What is this full-on oral examination? So yeah, dying multiple times for one shot is very manageable, but having no money, that suddenly makes life feel very unbearable, which same boy, same. Hello friends, welcome back to another danmei video. Get comfy, grab your beverage of choice, and let's get into it. Today we're going to embark on a slightly questionable reading experiment because why not? Instead of reviewing an entire novel, I'm only looking at the very first line and then consequently the first chapter, and providing a rating solely based on that. So basically we're speed dating 10 danmei novels in this video that have been on my radar for a while. I want to see if a single sentence or just one chapter can convince me to commit to a story that can, at times, you know, span over hundreds of chapters. I wouldn't take this as a review or anything of the sort. It's more like that moment when you're perusing the shelves at a bookstore and open to a first page of a random book and think, okay, is this gem coming home with me today or are we leaving it behind? Some of these novels I've been curious about for a long time, so I'm hoping they surprise me or get me to fall heads over heels for the world that is depicted in them. We shall see. And if I eventually finish any of them, I will come back and refer to this video to see whether my first impressions were completely wrong or whether any of them met my expectations/predictions. So let's begin our not so scientific danmei speed dating experiment. So I do have a little bit of a system going on here with our little Notion page to keep things on track. Mainly, I have way more danmei novels that I'm interested in checking out, but I kind of narrowed it down to these 10 for now so that I can see if this experiment can even be conducted successfully. These will be our trial run novels for now. So for each novel, I have input some information that you can easily find on novel updates and cards and such places. I have left some fields empty here, as you can see, some for the opening line, which we will rate from 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest in the sense of it didn't attract my attention, and 5 being the highest, as in it really managed to grip my interest. Same will be done with chapter 1, so also 1 through 5. Then I will give them a combined score based on that. And I'll also take a look overall at the compatibility level that me and this novel could potentially share. That's why we're kind of speed dating it, right? Yeah. Overall impression I will leave for if we ever finish this novel, and that would be the final score. And then we'll be able to compare it against the initial scoring that we did based on the opening line in chapter 1. I do have some art that I've included for most of these. I'll also try to input a quote or a line from chapter 1 that intrigued me in some way, shape, or form. I also have a link here to where I can find the fan translation, as well as a card if available, and any Weibo super topic on this either novel or the author, and finally the novel updates website as well. So I tried to be very thorough and meticulous with it just for my own sake, and if anyone's interested or wants a link to this specific Notion page, do let me know. I don't mind. I would be completely open to creating a copy of this and sending it your way. So let's begin in chronological order here. I don't even know what the order is, but I guess the order I have created the pages in. The first one here is Sunset Boulevard by Kabicho. I don't know much about this novel apart from the fact that I've seen tons of merch come out recently on Weibo with this IP. I can see that it's tagged as action, mystery, romance, and Omegaverse. I honestly couldn't tell based on this art alone that this is Omegaverse, so that's quite exciting. It also is known by another name, which is Sunset Avenue. Let's take a look at the card, perhaps. Nope. There's a bit of info here. Perhaps I should go into them blind without checking out the card until I read the first chapter so that I kind of go in with zero expectations. Might be more fair. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that instead. So we will just jump straight into the first line of each of these novels, read the first chapter, then check novel updates or card or whatever else is available. I feel like that might be the best. And I see here in my notes that it says it's missing extras, so I guess they're not translated. The entire novel is translated, but not the extras. Oh, so exciting. Okay, they also have a summary here. If the first sentence is super short, I will give it like maybe half a paragraph or a paragraph depending on what we get. This is what I meant by it's not so very scientific because we cannot just stick to the same rules for every novel, but let's get into it. Chen Boqiao, I'm so sorry also if I butcher any names, spent 3 months in the League Military Jail number 5. In this time, he celebrated his 29th birthday alone, missed his father's burial, and witnessed 6 former officers of the military being escorted to their execution. Oof! Wow, that is one heavily loaded first sentence. I wonder if this character was wrongfully accused and is that why they're in jail? So many things have happened in just those 3 months. And are they on death row? Like, what is. I'm so intrigued. Honestly, this first line is pretty strong. It's definitely very eye-catching and thought-provoking, so I would give this first line like a 5-star. It's definitely catnip for my brain for now because it immediately sank its teeth into my brain and is kind of provoking me into wanting to continue. So I guess it did its job successfully. Let's move on to the next one. Flying Gulls Never Land by Hui Nang Chue. This is a 73 chapter novel. Oh yeah, the previous one, I didn't even mention it. It's 49 chapters, pretty short, with 10 extras. And this is drama, psychological, romance. Should I be even reading the genres? Because I feel like that's also a bit of... It might give some things away, but I'm not sure. Let's see what the first line of this one sounds like. What is freedom? Just straight up like that, a philosophical question. I'm gonna do like one more line so that we get a bit more of a taste. Before I was 16, freedom to me was like birds soaring in the sky, fish swimming in the sea, precious enough that Sandor Patofi said he would be willing to give up his life and love for. An abstract yet uniform existence. Ooh. Okay, I really, really love how it just starts off in such a philosophical manner. It almost feels like I'm reading a piece of classic literature, so I quite like that one. It's not necessarily the most exciting line out there, that's for sure, but it has me intrigued. It definitely does, so I'm going to say immediately invested. I'll give it a solid 4 stars for that opening line for sure. Also, please do let me know if you've read any of these novels without spoiling anything, because I'm curious if any of these are high on your radar or something you have previously read, so that I have even more to look forward to. It's always extremely fun sharing and relishing in novels that others have read so that we can fangirl about it together. Okay, next is Panguan. I included this here before it was picked up and licensed by 7C, so there's definitely an official publication happening in regards to this novel, but it's fine. I still have a screenshot of the first chapter from before, so I will be using that to refer to, but even if it intrigues me and I really like the first chapter, I guess I will have to wait for the publication of the first volume before we can actually dive in, which is a bit unfortunate because if it turns out to be very mind-bogglingly amazing from the first chapter, I'm going to feel so slighted. Look at the art. I love this artist so much. This is the artist, by the way. So this is Panguan by Musuli. It's 117 chapters with 6 extras. I've seen this high and low on Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, Twitter. Like, it's been recommended a lot, and I believe it's probably for a very good reason, and I want to find out why this might be so highly acclaimed. So my expectations are a little bit set high, but I'm going to try not to let that affect me, okay? So the first line. When Ge told me that he is someone who cannot fully die. Every time he closes his eyes, a few years will pass, and one day he will crawl out from the gate of oblivion again. I don't know why, but I have full body chills right now. I have goosebumps all over my arms and my neck. Like, how? How? I'm already loving it from the first line. That's insane. I'm gonna say it's catnip for my brain. That is so good. I am someone who's super fascinated by anything mystery adjacent, and this seems like it would have some of that. I also find it interesting from what I've heard that a lot of the fan art and official art typically depicts them in this like ancient Chinese attire, but the majority of the novel takes place in the modern world. That is the only thing I know. And I don't mind that. I am more of a historical reader. I do prefer xianxia and wuxia genre, but I am open to modern as well, especially recently. I've been reading more modern danmei from rosmei and haitang, so I'm quite enjoying them. And it's always a great thing to expand beyond beyond our comfort zone and discover new things, you know? This one is definitely high on my list. All right, on to the next. Imprisoned in Eternal Night by Mai Xiangtina. Its alt title is also falling into the polar night. I've also seen this one recommended before, and the art and official merch for this series is stunning. It's so beautiful. I've definitely been art baited by this before, so I felt like why not pick it up. I see that I've added the Omegaverse tag as well to this one. Let's see if we feel compelled enough by this one. Scared to Death by You City Folks. This is just the title of chapter 1, and the first sentence is, on the 9th of this month, Baiqing Group officially announced the acquisition of Rikno. The acquisition agreement grants Baiqing Group the right to use Rikno's exclusive DSAE technology platform. Furthermore, Baiqing Group will gain Rikno's preclinical research and development pipeline, which includes ... This one's hard because I feel like this is like some kind of news announcement or forecast or something news headline related, and it does not give us much of a taste for the novel, the characters, the setting. Not much to go off of, and I see it probably deals with some rich businessy shenanigans. Unfortunately, as the first sentences go, I'm going to give it a 2-star. I feel threatened. Why did I include this? I feel like I need to change this. It's not so much about being threatened, it's just I don't feel the pull, you know? Yes, there, this is better. I'm not feeling that intrigued by it. Were we even on the right one? Can you imagine I'm reading? No, it is the correct one. Okay. I don't know. They look so young too. Is there like a lot of time skips and such? Unfortunately, I don't feel anything for that opening line, but yeah, doesn't mean I won't enjoy the novel. Let's move to Golden Hairpin Locked in Copper Sparrow. That is quite a mouthful, also known as Golden Hairpin Locked in Dongque. I don't want to have included the wrong author. Shiwei Zhu Cha. It has a whopping 160 chapters. It's fine. I've read definitely longer novels. It's not a big deal. I love how it seems to be set in Imperial China. Is that where it is? Or definitely some time period. But let's actually take a look at the first line. In the past, people had to order fruit plates to listen to stories in tea houses, and what they heard was just random gossip. I don't know. I'm just taking a look if there's any introduction. Going simply by the first line, I am confused but intrigued. Again, it's mainly because of the time period. So I guess that's a bit of a bias coming through. Let's move on to Hope You've Been Well by Beinan. This is 98 chapters with 1 extra. And I see here that it says translation taken down. Oh no. Wait. Oh, is it only the first chapter and the rest you have to gain access to? I think I requested access for this novel before, but I never heard back.
Nope.
Oh, that sucks, because I am not sure how I'm supposed to read this then. I will still check out the first sentence and the first chapter because it is available, but I'm not sure what to do after that. I feel like I have to cross my fingers and hope one of the danmei publishers picks it up. There are so many, by the way, coming out of the woodwork. So many new danmei publishers that are on my radar. Perhaps I'll do a video in the future highlighting all of them, because gone are the days when we only had 1, 2, or 3. No. Now we have even more options coming up, but they are fresh from the oven. We don't have as much to refer to check how reputable or how dedicated these publishers will be. But still, I feel like it could be beneficial to just have a video dedicated to that so everyone can refer back to something and take a look for themselves. Yeah, I could always update that if there is more information in the future, but I think having a video or source dedicated to all the publishers out there in one place would be useful for some, maybe. So let's check out the first line of this novel. Summer in Rongcheng was especially hot. Wearing an apron, Zhuang Fangxin was holed up in his room painting. He hadn't moved from the spot for the past 4 hours. These are very short sentences, so I'm kind of doing a couple. Suddenly he heard a dog's lively bark, so distinct it sounded like it came from their front door. I am so terribly sorry. This is why sometimes I'm very hesitant on picking up modern novels. It takes me a while to be pulled into the world because I need time to get accustomed to the characters. Because it is set in a similar world to ours, I tend to not connect with the story as fast as I would if it was historical. I am so sorry this is going to be our first 1 star. I feel so bad. Again, this is not anything on the author or the translator or the story itself. It's just the opening line. For me, it's doing nothing. But I will still read the first chapter. Anyway, we can only go up from there. Next is Wait For Me After School. Oh, this is another very, very, very popular one that I've seen talked about a lot, as well as its author, Jiang Zibai. I've heard so many people talk about this author and their other novels. This one in particular is 92 chapters with 3 extras, and I also see it has locked access, so it would require... Oh, it does say that I filled out the form. I don't think I have access to it, right? Oh no, I do. Cool. I did get access to this one. I'm happy. Hopefully it's okay for me to share the screen of this one. It says do not repost or distribute, so I'm just going to read it to you and you take my word for it. In a cramped and narrow alleyway. That's literally the first sentence. I'm going to read a bit more just to make it fair. Half-torn lost children notices were pasted onto the mottled walls. There was a burst of commotion in the alley, followed by occasional sounds of fists hitting flesh, as well as a few heavy insults and curses. Ooh, that is quite intriguing. It sets the scene so well, you can actually feel the constriction of the space you're in, and there's lost children plastered onto walls. Like, this is kind of a spooky one. I'm so confused. Is this not... Are they not in high school? I will give this opening line for sure immediately invested. Immediately. So a 4 star. I also really love this art. So pretty. Next is I Became a God in a Horror Game. And this is by the author Hu Yu La Jiao. Is that how you say it? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to butcher all these names. I will practice. I will do better. I haven't heard as much on this novel in the sense of I didn't see it recommended as often as the others, but I personally have had my eye on it because I find the art absolutely gorgeous. It's so beautiful. It's so stunning. Look at them. Look at how beautiful they both are. If any novel were to art bait me successfully, this would be the first one. And I mean, it did. This is why I added it here. I feel like I'm going to read this one regardless of how I rank and rate the first opening line. But you know what? Let's rank the first line before anything else, before we jump the gun. There's also a little bit of a translator's note about it being very plot-oriented. I love plot-oriented novel. Also, I didn't mention, but I don't know if you noticed, 588 chapters. 588. Yeah. That means there's so much content. Like, you get to spend so much time with the characters. I quite like that. Only, of course, if I love the story and the characters. I hope it meets my expectations. Let's see. Bai Liu woke up and found himself sitting in the backseat of a car. A kidnapping? The inside of the car was narrow, and there was the vivid smell of smoke from the worn seats. Water was dripping down the window, and the drizzle of rain outside the window could be seen. The sky was dim, and it was difficult to tell if it was dusk or night. The faint smell of salted fish lingered in his nose, making him uncomfortable. Okay, I can tell this is probably... Yes, my eyes glazed a little bit, and I looked onto the next line as well, and it says game instructions. I can tell that this is most likely unlimited flow, right? Oh, okay. It is not the best line out there, but I can tell we are meant to be. So I'm giving it a 4 star, but I feel like it deserves even higher. But to be fair, just the line, or I guess the little paragraph alone, it is very intriguing, but I feel maybe it's missing a little oomph. Regardless, I feel like I would love this story. I can feel it in my bones. I'm making a prediction towards the end of chapter 1. It might already be a 5 star, or at the very least, after I finish the first arc, I feel like, I don't know why, something's telling me I'm going to give it a 5 star. Yes, is it because I've purchased merch for this series before I ever read it? Maybe. I feel like having that much merch in general is already a good sign, so I'm going to hedge my bets and say that this will be a 5 star read even after I complete the novel. Watch me eat my words. I hope not. Okay, before last novel we have Ephemeral Light, or also known as A House of Dark Lights by Mai Xiangjin, the same author as the novel Imprisoned in Eternal Night. I just really like their English name as well, McChicken. This one is 53 chapters and 7 extras. Is this like a toxic one? I feel like I've heard something about this one before, about it being toxic, or maybe I'm misremembering. Let's take a look at the first line. Oh, I see warnings. I see a ginormous warning tag. Oh, guys, I would be careful because I already see there are quite, I can't select it, but I will highlight it in post. Okay. Okay, that is quite a bit of a trigger warning. Please read with caution. I'm going to read the first line. Hopefully there's nothing scandalous in the first line, but definitely if this is a huge trigger for you, stay away from this novel if you're someone who doesn't mind toxicity and some very questionable and dark, immoral relationships. Let's see. The day after the funeral of his mother, Song Xiangping sent a car to pick up Song Jin. Let me read just a bit more. There's a funeral already. Okay, Song Jin took off the black veil from his sleeve and placed it in the compartment of the suitcase. As he walked down from the attic, the floor creaked as if it couldn't bear the weight. In the beams of light leaking in from outside the window, countless floating specks of dust were illuminated. First of all, I love the imagery and the setting that the author creates. It's very melancholic. So I feel like I would really enjoy reading this one. Despite the heavy warnings, I am someone who can read these kind of things. Maybe because I don't have siblings, so I'm so far removed from the situation. I also don't mind exploring these in fiction because I want to see how the author tackles such a subject, something that is so taboo. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely intrigued. I'm going to give the opening line confused but intrigued. I would personally give it like a 3.5, close to 4, but not all the way there. Actually, no. You know what? I am going to give it a 4. I think the atmosphere was very beautiful. I can't stick to a rating. Okay. Last but not least, we have Fog, which is an esports danmei. I haven't read many of those, so I'm very excited to pick more. And this one has 132 chapters and 4 extras. It's by Mama Chiduo. I've definitely seen this one floating around. Ever since I joined the danmei space, I recall this one being recommended for those who were looking for an esports novel, so I'm rather intrigued by it too. This is some official merch art as well. It was 2 o'clock in the morning and the lights in the IAC Esports Club Fog Division in Shanghai were still bright. I'm sorry, by the way, if you can hear our dishwasher running. It's quite noisy, but I don't know if my mic is picking it up, so I do apologize if it is. I'm going to give it another line. The practice match just ended and it was free time now. The players in the base were washing up and ordering takeaway. There was only one person left in the training room, Shilwo, who was in his seat playing the game. It's kind of generic in the sense of like how it starts, but I am very interested in it, so I will give it a solid 3-star. Actually, it would be more of a 3.5 for this one. I'm quite excited. The characters and the design for the characters they went with looks so appealing to me. Now that we have our first impression down pat, I believe it's time to get into the first chapters. So I will do these off camera. I'm going to read, maybe jot down a few notes as I'm reading, and then I will return to you with my thoughts and ratings for that one, and we can finally decide on how compatible I am with this novel just based on the first chapter and the opening line, but mainly it'll be the first chapter. Okay, I'm so excited for a lot of these. A quick recap before we move on to the first chapter. One of the novels got a 1-star for the opening line, one got a 2-star, 2 of the novels got a 3-star, 4 novels got a 4-star, and 2 novels got a 5-star. It's interesting to see how this will fare in the end. My anticipation is at an all-time high, so I'm going to log off real quick, read the first chapters for these novels, and I'll be right back.
One eternity later.
Alright, it's the next day. I'm done with all the first chapters of the novels that I was planning to tackle. So my thought process when reading them was very simple. I just wanted to read and work my way from most to least intriguing first line, and that's kind of the order that I've read the first chapters in, which would mean Sunset Boulevard was our first one on the list. We start with our protagonist, my guess is Chen Boqiao, and I think in the card it mentioned that he's the gong, right? Yeah, so we have a Gong point of view. The first chapter throws us immediately into the story, and we see this poor guy having the worst time of his life. He's on trial and sentenced to death for supposedly, I'm going to say supposedly, for a lot of things actually. Treason, a brutal murder of four, and biggest one I guess of all is the murder of his father. And since we have nothing to go off of on their relationships apart from speculation, my guess would be that, you know, he was wrongfully accused, especially since the reporters camping outside the trial when it was taking place, well, it seemed like he had a lot of supporters, and, you know, they're protesting and kind of wanting to interview him and ask him, are you planning to appeal? Do you think the evidence was fabricated? Were you set up by your stepmother, perhaps? I mean, this gets our gears definitely working. And if his stepmom is involved, what would be her reason? You know, is she incentivized by the money? What my guess is probably so, if it is true, since we are also provided with this piece of information that he is the son of the richest man in the league. He himself was a former army colonel, so there's a lot afoot here. But all we can do is speculate. We do, at the end of the chapter, we do seem to get a glimpse of the other character. He's just kind of like writing to him. Also, just to comment on Chen Boqiao, throughout all this, he seems very, very calm. Like nothing really phases him, so I wonder if it's because he knows he's an innocent man and he has a plan of some sort to get himself out of the situation, because it doesn't look great so far. I will say that much. It really feels like the story is going to be about, you know, uncovering the truth behind who wanted him to take the fall for this, although we kind of have already our suspects, unless they are a red herring. In terms of chapter 1 interest rating, I gave it a strong solid 5, which is a problem because I realized a lot of these novels were able to retain my interest. So it's going to be a mystery for all of us. Which one I'm going to pick by the end of this, perhaps you can help me decide as well. Given the opening line score and chapter 1 score, obviously this novel receives a 5-star combined score. As for the compatibility of this story with my own current interest, I am already emotionally invested, surprisingly so. I actually expected I might not enjoy it as much, but lo and behold, I am surprised. It's also a relatively short one. One of the intriguing lines that I put down here is, after a few months of ups and downs, he reappeared in public view. Chen Boqiao was not as desperate, embarrassed, grief-stricken, or angry as predicted by the media. He hadn't changed at all. As you can see, we have cool as a cucumber protagonist. So that'd be fun to follow him around and such. But yeah, that was Sunset Boulevard. After that, I tried reading Panguan, which again is officially licensed by Seven Seas, so definitely highly anticipating this one. I believe we're following the point of view of this little cutie in blue. Well, I mean, he's not really a baby right now. I wonder, is there like some kind of age regression here, or what exactly is going to happen? But that is Wen She. He is the disciple, and I believe the master, his shizun, or I think it's his shizun, unless he's his shifu, I don't know. But he's going to be the gong, so we have a gong shizun here. Not that we get to meet him in the beginning, so I don't think it really matters. So the story is being told from the perspective of someone in the mortal world seeing Wenshi off. Seeing him off as in, like, you know, he kaput to the other world. And then we just kind of witnessed him return from something that they call the Gate of Oblivion. And he's done this time and time again, so it's not his first rodeo. And I guess from that we can draw the conclusion that he's someone who cannot truly stay dead, and it seems that he just sleeps for a very long time when he's on this other side. Again, I have a lot of questions on how this works, but what do you expect from one chapter? I'm doing my best to try to rationalize what I read. It's also really funny, the atmosphere in the cab. So they're taking a cab to this place, and this man, this mortal man who came to pick him up, who's been serving him all this time, is just like talking and answering questions that he asked from maybe ages ago, and the poor cab driver is so confused, so horrified. He thinks they're probably ghosts. But the way they're talking and the way Wenshu looks, it's just like such an eerie feeling that the taxi cab driver gets from them, especially since Wenshu looks like a little child at the start when he just like hops into this ride, and you can tell something very supernatural is going on, because once they get off, he already resembles a teenager, and you can tell his body's quickly changing drastically, the appearance. So this mortal man who is serving him, Shen Chao, well, it kind of ends on a very sad note in the beginning, because his whole branch has basically ended, and Shen Chao left this little kid to take care of Wenshi, and worst of all is they have no money. There's a quote as well where he's like really upset by that. So yeah, dying multiple times for Wenshi is very manageable, but having no money, that suddenly makes life feel very unbearable, which same boy, same. My takeaway really from here is that I really, really, really like the atmosphere. It kind of gives off a very quiet and melancholic feel to it. And I just loved this lingering feeling that even the first chapter alone has left me with. All I can describe it as sad and soft, but it's working in my favor, I guess. One of the quotes that I input here is, "There weren't any streetlights in this area, only the reflective strips on the protective railings glowed with faint fluorescence. It really was raining very hard, and the shadows of the trees on both sides of the road twisted and swayed like unkempt, slanted hair." I feel like the imagery that it sets is very, very beautiful. Eerie but beautiful. I love that kind of writing. Also gave chapter 1 a 5-star. It's definitely binge worthy, and obviously the combined score here as well, a 5, and compatibility level, I'm emotionally invested, which is like, what does one do? What does one do from here? How does one decide? Also, if you do want to see a full vlog or a full reaction to a specific novel from this list, please let me know down below. I would love to do that too, if there's demand for it. If not, I'll still read through them, but more give so a summary towards the end after being done with the novel. The novel I went with after that was Flying Gulls Neverland. This one was a bit on the longer side. Interestingly enough, we are dealing with an ex-convict, but it seems like he did commit the crimes, perhaps. The main protagonist, Lu Feng, he has just been released from prison after serving 10 years, I want to say, did I right? 10 years? Yeah, 10 years for manslaughter. So this is why we saw a lot of that freedom quotation in the beginning. It feels very abstract to him because he had to serve such a long sentence. Even just stepping outside, finally gaining his freedom, it just feels too overwhelming. He doesn't know what to do with that. And unfortunately, it seems this one has also a very sad nuance to it, because after he leaves prison, after he's released, and he attempts like to do his best to adjust to normal life, you can tell he's really struggling to let go of his past, or more like his past has a full-on grasp on him, and it's hard to see him carry all that. He's been shaped by years in prison, and something weighs really heavy on his shoulders, exceptionally so when we find out that his mother has terminal illness, and there's nothing he or anyone else can do about it. So he goes and visits her at the nursing home, and you can tell how much she's been enduring and how deeply Lu Feng cares for her. It's very sweet, very bittersweet actually. He struggles a bit in expressing his care and worry for his mother, but his heart is in a very good place. He runs into the male lead, Shang Min-oh, or whatever his name is. This guy had my blood boiling already. Why was this man so gleeful? Like, I don't know why, but it made me want to punch him in the face immediately. And it turns out he was there during the court hearing or something back then and did not do a good job defending RMC. So yeah, he gets bitch slapped by Lu Feng's mother, and I guess also his mother, because he turns out to be adopted. He's the adopted son. I don't know. I don't have much to say about this guy. He just pisses me off already. Like, I've known this man for a whole 2 minutes, and all I want to do is rip out his hair. Yeah, it's so weird. The interaction between them is very strange. Perhaps because obviously there's a complicated history between them, most likely, again, tied to the events that led to Lu Feng's imprisonment, but something's not adding up, because his mother has a very strong reaction again when he mentions this guy, and she immediately throws away the gift that he brought from Shang Min-oh. Yeah. This moment speaks louder than any words. I feel like what's coming is a lot of pain, dog blood and pain. Am I up for that? I'm not necessarily in my angst mood is what I wanted to say, but then as I kept reading more chapters, not from this novel, but the other novels, maybe I am. Maybe this one just didn't pique my curiosity as much, but I still gave it a solid 4. Which brings the combined score to a solid 4 as well. And in terms of compatibility level, I mean, I'm intrigued, definitely. I do want to read this at one point. Maybe it's not as high on my priority list as the other two, but still relatively high. Well, I actually put 2 quotes here from the first chapter. At last she said, "Son, I will try my best to hold out until you leave prison. Then let's go home together." I've forgotten most of my feelings back then, and it isn't something I want to recall. I just remember after the numbness was shockingly excruciating pain. The boy's struggling. It's just so sad to see. I also have this other one because I just felt like there was a lot of good quotes just from this chapter alone. 10 years ago, I would have not hesitated in exposing him, but now I had grown up. The adult world was like so, where even if there is a translucent sheet of paper barely covering up what was beneath, it was still better than seeing the ugly truth for what it was in its bare form. How gorgeous is that, first of all? Very much excited to read it. For the beauty of the writing alone, it's still high on my priority list. Don't let my weird arbitrary ranking fool you. After that, I gave a Wait For Me After School ago. We have our little baby boy Yufan here, and he's a reckless little chaos gremlin who enjoys fighting. We're literally thrown into a fight in the first chapter because his friend is rushing to help him get him out of danger because he's expecting there to be reckless chaos given that it's 5-on-1, but no, Yufan already has it covered. He's beat up the entire group by himself. He's very calm. He does seem to be a little bit injured, but at the same time, he's very capable of protecting himself. And it seems like he has a bit of a reputation around school grounds of being a very reckless, strong, feared delinquent. My guess is we're gonna get more on that later. Honestly, nothing even really happens in the first chapter, apart from, you know, being revealed the reputation of our MC and other students gossiping about him, describing him as this very dangerous and unpredictable man. And as he's enjoying his little milk tea, we see these girls come out and they fearing for their lives, thinking he's looking at them, but he's looking at the guy behind them. And you can tell from the brief little interaction there that there's a lot of tension between them. He says, and I quote when he sees him, so this is kind of set the scene, after confirming that the other party was indeed blatantly looking at him, Yufan put away the knife, nodded at the seat next to him, and said to that person, "If you like to look that much, why don't you sit closer and look?" It's just, look at this little sassy thing. I'm enjoying the tension already, and I like that there's probably more beneath the surface that we don't have any inkling to yet. And that would be quite interesting to read, to figure out more. Like, you can start seeing a pattern here, which is why it gets a 5-star. Obviously, we cannot be binging all of them. Like, this doesn't make sense, girl. You cannot read 10 novels at once. I feel very tempted to, but I know in my heart of hearts that is impossible. So I need a better system. This leaves us with a combined score of 4.5. Very high on our list as well. And the only reason it's a 4.5 was because we gave the opening line a 4-star. And as for my compatibility, also emotionally invested. Like, I'm ready to dive into this novel. After that, I read the first chapter of I Became a God in a Horror Game. And listen, listen. Somebody better restrain me because I am already head over heels when it comes to the story, especially our MC here, Bailio, the one with the darker hair. He is such a mood. I don't know why I really like him. He's just so unintentionally funny, and it draws you in immediately if you enjoy humorous protagonists, which I do. You know, a boy wakes up in a strange car, and we are already introduced to the system that informs us that he's been pulled into this survival game because of his overwhelming desire for money. Our boy is very into that. He is such a money-loving gremlin, and I love him for it. So he loses his job, and that's kind of how he gets invited to join this game. He doesn't seem to fear anything. He doesn't even care. He's like, wait, as long as I get paid, I don't care how dangerous this is. I just want my money, okay? As the game starts, we also get to witness his stats. Overarchingly, they are bad and low and a poor guy, but he has unusually high intelligence and a perfect mental state. His mental state is at 100, which is very unseen and unusual. So all of the newcomers who are like joining, I guess they're players. I don't know if they're newcomers or just players who gather around the screen. There seems to be some kind of screen system. I don't know yet. And they're kind of like all gather around the screen to watch him, I'm guessing his performance, how he plays the games. And everyone's in this like tense mood, like, oh my god, oh no, poor guy got dragged into this siren town. I guess that's the first game he's dragged into. And everyone's panicking. Meanwhile, Bailio is like, he's so composed, ready to play, and yeah, he's just surrounded by a lot of spectators. That's kind of where we end off. Honestly, that was enough for me. I love unlimited flow. I find this horror adjacent genre like very fascinating and actually something I can read because I cannot watch horror, but for some reason reading unlimited flow just scratches an itch in my brain so perfectly. I can tell already that is going to be an intensely wild ride. Having a character that's not necessarily reckless, but more like fearless due to his love and obsession with money is going to make for very interesting scenarios and choices probably in the game that he takes. This is definitely another one that is super high on my list, and I chose this little line from the first chapter. In this type of anxiety and conflict, Bailio couldn't help dreaming. If only there was a way in this world that he could make money with high risks. It didn't matter if he died, as long as he got money. That tells you all you need to know about his character, and it's really funny. I highly recommend. It's so funny. I'm recommending this novel even though I haven't even read it. Okay, maybe don't take my recommendation. What if it goes downhill from here? But I have high expectations, and I'm hoping they are going to be met. So this is a solid 5-star for the first chapter, which also brings us to a 4.5 combined score. And the compatibility level, again, I'm emotionally invested. I definitely need some help. I definitely need some help. So after that, on the list, since we're still going from top to bottom, I read the first chapter of Ephemeral Light. Again, I feel like I need to reiterate this one more time because the story does touch on some very heavy and uncomfortable themes. I know it's completely normal and I understand that it's not for everyone. The reason why I want to read it, first of all, the language is very beautiful in this novel, and I'm also approaching it more as a character study. I want to see the trauma, the drive, the dynamics, the emotions that the characters are going to go through, and how the author explores this subject matter that is very taboo in and of itself. I also know everyone has their different limits, so skip over this one if it's not something you can handle. Just even skip my reaction to the first chapter. There's nothing scandalous, but regardless, you know, the topic matter. So because it not only covers this topic in particular, but there's also heavy and potentially distressing themes like family trauma and emotional neglect, and you already get that from the first chapter. It can also make a lot of people uncomfortable, but regardless, let me stop yapping about this and get into the story itself. So we start off the story with our main character, Songjin's mother's passing. What is up with the mothers and passing and illnesses? They just, what is this, Disney? He is actually attending her funeral. His mother had to leave his father, now her ex-husband, because, well, he's a low-life, miserable excuse for a man, and I get it, but I felt so bad for the younger child. She just leaves him behind. She feels like he's a harbinger of bad luck, completely abandons him, and I just felt so sad. So she only takes her older son, or protagonist Songjin, and leaves the little brother behind, and it's so sad the way he's calling out to them and doesn't understand what's happening. She doesn't want to accept any financial support from her ex-husband, and she just wants them to leave them alone, but unfortunately she develops a terminal illness, lung cancer, and she feels like it's best for Songjin to go back to his dad so he can at least support him financially and provide him with proper schooling. It's unfortunate, really. I can see how difficult and traumatic the brotherly relationship is going to be. The pain that the younger brother, what's his name? Song Qinglan, feels from being abandoned, right? The divorce, the separation from his brother, his mother. It's probably a lot for such a young kid. Now he's 14, but back then he was very, very young. So now that Songjin has to go back to their father's home, he feels it's more of a stranger's place than his own. Of course he would, because he hasn't lived there in so long. And there's this very distant and cold kind of reunion between him and his brother. When he was younger, he clung to him and called Gaga everywhere he went, but now it's just, he looks at him with a lot of contempt almost. But RMC really stays gentle and just restrained. He does not push, he does not really react much, which I wonder if that would be very triggering for the younger brother. It's full of sense of melancholy. You can taste that lingering sense of distance between all the people. His father doesn't seem very present either. Surprisingly, this one is very high on my list as well. And I would give this first chapter a solid 5-star as well. Don't question me. One of the lines that I picked up here is the last sentence his mother said to Songjin was, "You have suffered too much. Don't end up like me. I won't hold you back." Like, I was ready to cry already. Whatever. I was ready to shed tears from the beginning. So I can tell this is going to emotionally break me. Our combined score here is also 4.5, but in my heart it's a 5. And compatibility level, again, I'm emotionally invested. I don't know, what are they adding into these danmei novels that makes them so addictive? But I guess we gotta break the streak at one point, and this was the novel that broke that streak. That broke the camel's back, really. Golden Hairpin, Locked in Copper Sparrow. What can I say about this one? First of all, the story, I think I made a mistake earlier. I said it's set in Imperial China. No, it's set in a Republic of China era. The setting is going to be a bit more theatrical and stage-like in tone, you know, with the tea houses, the opera, and so on, which I really do like. But then we're introduced to this intimidating military commander, Duan Yilin. He goes to confront some crook, corrupted doctor who is using expired medicine on his wounded soldiers. The confrontation is so strange and it ends so quickly. I mean, you do get a bit of a glimpse of what the realities of that time would have been like, I guess, with the war, the scarcity, everything like that. But the way this commander enforces authority is so brutal. He makes an example out of this doctor before he leaves. Like, literally, he gets run over by a car and he's like, well, yeah, you can treat him using expired medicine too. I just felt it was theatrical, so I guess it suits the time. And then he just storms his way into the medical hall where we meet our cutie patootie, Shu Hong, and they have like this weird interaction. I wasn't sure where it was going, and I guess nobody would see it coming either, where this commander keeps pushing the boundaries of this poor doctor who just wants to do his job. Initiates a weird forceful kiss when he drags him into like this enclosed space, hidden away from prying eyes. I don't know, it was so odd. It was so odd. I was not feeling the tension. At first I did have a bit of butterflies, like just a little bit. Just a tiny bit, not going to lie. About how he was kissing him. I couldn't take it seriously. He was literally tracing the other guy's teeth with his tongue, and it had me cringing so hard. Like, why are we inspecting the dental structure with our tongues? What is happening? What is this full-on oral examination? It did not come off as very sensual to me, okay? I was just flabbergasted, first and foremost. Probably a me problem. I don't know, but I wasn't having a good time. I feel like I was overly critical of this first chapter from the get-go. I'll also say that because that final scene didn't feel emotionally earned yet, like, I don't know these characters. Maybe it was supposed to come off as tension-filled, but for me, it was just jarring, unromantic, weird. It also doesn't help that the translation read a bit stiff a lot of the times. The flow wasn't very natural. And yeah, a lot of the moments didn't land as smoothly as they could have, I guess. It was a very disappointing first chapter. I will be very generously giving it a 2. There could be potential there, again, just for the era it's set in. I don't know if I'll actually end up reading this one. I might give it a few chapters to test the waters, but not anytime soon. So this leaves us with a combined score of 2.5, and the compatibility level is just, there's no spark between us. I'm sorry, it will have to be a swipe. Swipe, thank you, next. I did insert an quote from the little part that made my heart skip a beat before it all went downhill. It was this one: the next moment, Shu Hong's slender body was pulled by Duan Yilin into the back room. As soon as the curtain was drawn, Duan Yilin pressed him against the wall and kissed him deeply. Unearned, but after that, I jumped straight into Fog, which is an esports danmei novel. I don't have that much to say about this one, so I'll kind of briefly skirt by it. We have this top esports player who doesn't really want to live stream, it seems, but because of his contract, he must meet a certain amount of hours. So yeah, our MC Shilo is in the middle of live streaming, and he runs across this toxic teammate who keeps insulting one of the players. He attempts to stay quiet, but then, you know, he feels like, let me just rip him a new one and just trash talk him back. He knows he's going to get fined for this, but he may as well get fined because he cannot keep himself in check. And that's pretty much it. The chapter ends with his manager or somebody letting him know that the male lead, Yusui, is returning to China. It seems he was in Europe or somewhere. Yeah, he seems shaken to his core. We don't know why. His reaction is so extreme. I'm a bit intrigued, but not that much. We're also told that he betrayed him. So Yusui betrayed our MC, Shilo, for some reason. Like, he sold him off. He got him on some kind of team and then sold him off. I didn't really get it. I feel a little bit lost and confused by this one. I'm not going to dwell too much on it. It's actually a shame because I love the character designs. But yeah, the line that intrigued me was this: the penalty wasn't based on the number of insults. One insult had a fine of 10,000. 100 insults also had a fine of 10,000. In any case, this 10,000 yuan was as good as gone. So why not curse this little some more? I like his personality, but because, again, I didn't get much of a taste for the scenario or the setting, I'm kind of not as interested or don't have much of a pull towards this one. I would give it a strong 3.5, still maybe on the lower end. So let's keep it balanced here. So it's a 3-star for the opening line and a 3-star for the first chapter, which leaves us with a combined score also of 3. And the compatibility level is I'm intrigued, but not highly so. And I do feel like a lot of the heavy lifting is being done by the art. I'm severely art baited right now, and that is the only reason I might experience a bit of FOMO if I don't read a tiny bit more just to see where the story goes, because what if I fall in love with it? I feel like I've had this similar problem with Guide on How to Fail at Online Dating. I was kind of on and off with that novel in the very beginning, but once it started going, I was fully invested. So it could be the same case here. Next, I went to the first chapter of Imprisoned in Eternal Night, and this is by the same author as Ephemeral Night. And then I realized that I probably should read Eternity Still Unsaid because it's set in the same universe. I don't think it's necessary to, but I feel like I would want to, since chronologically the author wrote that one first, but I'm going to ignore that for now. I just noticed I gave this one a 2 on the opening line, but let me tell you a bit more about the story. A taste of what this first chapter had to offer. Right off the bat, I can already tell you that I don't like his family. What is wrong with his family? Why is everybody trash? But our baby boy Wenran wakes up in the hospital after being forced, it seems, to undergo some kind of traumatic surgery where they implanted artificial omega glands. It pisses me off already, mostly just because of what this poor baby had to go through. But despite all of this, he's still not treated like a human. You can tell his mother, his brother are controlling him in a way. He's not even a human being to them. It's more like he's a subject that they need to use, abuse, or whatever else they're doing. She's very distant. So the only time she shows any kind of positive emotion is when his pheromone compatibility comes back is extremely high and he's finally distressed. She's like, oh yay, I got what I wanted, I guess. We do find out that Wenran isn't originally part of this family. He was brought in as a substitute for their deceased youngest son. And he has been forced since childhood to live as him. He had to take on his name. He had to undergo these physical body modifications just to fit the role. And it's horrifying. And all because he has a little mole under his right eye. That funny how fate works is what he comments. He seems very sheltered as well. He's been kind of hidden for the longest time because probably they were preparing him for all this. And you can tell how unwelcome he feels in this family home. It just feels all cold and decaying. Anyway, his brother treats him kind of like with a hint of mockery, but also like he gives me the creeps. And he brings him to this high-end hidden club, so to speak, under the guise of what he calls, ooh, fun. I'm gonna take you to have some fun. When they are, our poor baby Wenran, he witnesses very disturbing, decadent scenes. I don't know if I can even mention them, but basically there's these masked elites, like everyone has to wear a mask. They're watching explicit performance of an alpha and an omega just doing it straight up in a cage. I don't know why this is considered entertainment to these creeps, but it is. And our poor baby was just kind of roped into here. He feels so uncomfortable. He doesn't know where to watch. He also runs into these two alphas which also seem very disinterested in the whole thing. You can already tell this place feels corrupt and just so suffocating, and it's the writing of the author. It's so beautiful, regardless like of the setting and of the disturbing things we're seeing. You cannot turn away from it. It's like a train wreck that you keep your eyes glued onto. Then something even more shocking is revealed to us. Not only is there these explicit performances, they just reveal a mutilated person displayed in a glass box. That was messed up. Like, it's so messed up. So he just wants to get out. He wants to puke. He doesn't feel well. And that's when he runs into this alpha that we don't know much about yet. He seems very detached. We kind of just leave off on that note. There's nothing else. And this is why I think out of all of them, I feel like I have to read this one next. But if I do have to read Eternity Still Unsaid, I feel like I want to read this one really badly though. I want to know what happens. It's so intense. It's so dark. I've just finished reading Urha Volume 10. Maybe I am craving a bit of darkness again. Honestly, the author McChicken is a genius in the way she writes and depicts atmosphere. I feel like that's what draws me into all of her novels so far. I mean, I know I only checked out 2, but everything feels very deliberate. Everything feels like it has a reason to happen, and I just adore that a lot. So it shall come as no surprise that I will be giving this a very, very high 5. If I could give it a 5.5, I would do so. This one is the most unexpected one because I didn't feel any pull reading the first line as opposed to where we are now after finishing the first chapter. And that was just the first chapter. Imagine how much more of the novel we still have left to go. Unfortunately, the combined score is a 3.5, but it's definitely higher in my heart. And the line that I included here is, "The elegant facade of the Hawaiian mansion concealed the decadence and debauchery of the upper class. The scents, music, and lighting here seem to be especially designed to stimulate all the senses of the visitors." You just get a bit of a taste of that. The way the author writes is so beautiful in the way they create these scenes. I can't get over it. Last but not least, we arrived at Hope You've Been Well, which I think would be very smart to eliminate from this listing, given that the translation has been taken down for good. I'm not going to hunt it down in any other way until it gets perhaps licensed officially. But as I was reading, I got this very light sense of deja vu, and then I recalled that I read the manhwa version of this story. Not all of it, I kind of dropped it. But yeah, there is a manhwa, so you can check that out if you are sad that you might not be able to read it because it's been taken down. But let's get into the story. Here we have the MC being introduced as this very gentle, kind of absent-minded art student who lives in a very quiet neighborhood. He spends his summer painting, he chats with his elderly neighbor. This man brings Ella a little German shepherd. There's like a lot happening, but not going to lie, my eyes were glazing over reading this one. Nothing was really keeping my attention. Maybe because I've read the manhwa before, but I don't think it's even that. I just didn't feel much. We do meet the male lead pretty soon after, and they're kind of spending time together. They're having dinner, they're teasing each other, and then Fanshin tries to remind the other guy that, hey, we've met before, or something like this. I was reading it, but none of the information was getting into my brain. What I can tell is that I don't think I would enjoy this. Like, I can't even summarize what the first chapter is about. And that's because I really have no interest for the story, and I just want to be genuine with my reaction. So unfortunately, this is the only novel that gets 1 stars across the board, unless somebody really convinces me in the comments that I'm making a huge mistake, it's actually very sweet or whatever else, and I'd regret not reading it. For now, I'm going to put my foot down and say just based on this. I know it's not fair. It's such a biased take, especially when I read so little, but I don't know. I can't bring myself to read it. I'm not interested in it. Hence the score. I don't even have an intriguing line to put here because I felt absolutely nothing. And I'm sad about it. I'm not flaunting that. I actually feel very saddened by this fact. But it's okay. You can't have every novel catered to your every whim. So this is what we're working with. These are our top 5 contenders based on the overall score. I'm sorry, Imprisoned in Eternal Night should be here. It's just because of that one first sentence that I brought the ranking down. But picture it here. Okay, right here. So out of these 6, actually, which do you think I should start with? Because as for me, I have no clue. especially given that I feel like I shouldn't start Imprisoned Eternal Night before I read Eternity Still Unsaid. I may not be compatible with some of these novels towards the end. Some of them might surprise us, some of them might fall off, but I find this so exciting and exhilarating that I feel like I discovered so much and given so many novels a chance that I might not have otherwise. So I guess the biggest takeaway here is that I had a lot of fun. I hope it was fun for you. Some of these novels really feel like they might end up ruining my life, which honestly is exactly what I look for in danmei most of the time. And if I end up finishing any of them, I will definitely come back to check if my first impressions were accurate at all. If any of these novels piqued your interest, please let me know. If you've read any of them, also do let me know which one I should go with first. And if you have any other recommendations, feel free to leave them down below. I love exploring new stories and making risky reading decisions. Definitely don't shy away from recommending things that you love. I hope I also don't step on anybody's toes if I didn't like or didn't vibe with the first chapter of your favorite novel. It's just a matter of personal preference. I would still love to hear why you didn't like a certain novel without spoiling it, please. I'd love to hear all about your bookish adventures, and if you want more cozy, unhinged, chaotic danmei chats like this, feel free to stick around, subscribe, and like the video to let me know. It truly means the world that you chose to spend a little part of your day with me. I'm really grateful. Until next time, and keep reading stories that make your heart feel full. Bye bye!